Chiefs are ready to take on the Houston Texans, and they are at full strength. What does that mean for this game? What happens and who wins today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Red Friday for your divisional round playoff against the Houston Texans. Welcome in. We're brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use our code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL. You're going to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Great lineups today. A lot of news. Who's in, who's out. What the injury report tells us will affect the entire team. We're going to give you the X factors, our predictions, what we see happening. That's coming up later in the show. We will run it down for matchup by matchup. What are the must wins? And we are going to start with the fact that they are full strength on both the offensive side and the defensive side for maybe the most important game or the most important point of the season. You can get a lot more content from us and everyone on the Locked On Podcast Network. So thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another show for your next one. You can get more information from Chris over at KC Chiefs Corner. You can get a ton from me at NFL33.com. Both of those are Substacks. Just go get subs so you get all the content. We appreciate it. And then check out rgrfootball.com. That's here on YouTube as well. If you want that much more, you can get out our text line at 816-357-8781. Chris is going to do like the inactives, the lineups, everything for you that you need to know on a daily basis. You're going to get over there, so check it out. I'm excited about this one because this is a quote from the 80s. I love it when a plan comes together. That's the quote. And this is the way that it's happened, right? All season long, we've been talking about, hey, you might get Hollywood back. You might get X back. Many who's going to be here. Maybe they can get Jalen Watson back. Well, today we find out that they do intend to activate him. He is listed as questionable for this ball game. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but it means he'll be available. And that is a big step forward for this defense.
It's huge, and I think he plays. I don't know that he starts. That's going to be the big question. Is he going to start? Is he going to step into a starting role? He practiced in full all week, so it looks like he should be he's not going to be 100%, but he's going to be close to 100%. And I think the big question for him and the big thing that the Chiefs have to answer is how comfortable is he going to feel being thrown out there to the Wolves in a playoff game? Obviously, he's been there before. He knows what it's like. He understands the speed of the game, but he hasn't played in a while. So there's going to be rust. Do you throw him out there and have him start right away? Do you throw him out there for a couple of snaps and just let him get his feet wet and hope that you are playing the next week and just trying to get him acclimated? I think that's kind of maybe where I sit, is maybe that they throw him out there for a series or two. If he is okay, great. If not, take him back out and you try again next week.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Get a little of the rust off, get a feel for it, throw something different at the Texans in terms of like disrupting what they want to do. A lot of things going on there. Their weapons are a little bit beat up. Joe Mixon barely practiced at all this week, did not participate in their final walkthrough, limited, and then didn't practice the first day either. So the run game is important in this one for the Texans. For the Chiefs, if you can do anything to disrupt the passing game now with what looks like a beat-up or possibly beat-up run game, I think that helps. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it does have to be a little bit because the focus is going to be on Nico Collins. I think Spags did a good job of outlining that they do respect him. They know that he can make plays. And if you can focus on that, I have utter faith right now after seeing the pressers this week that Trent McDuffie is going to draw him the bulk of the time, unless they do something else to force them out of that matchup. If they line up in the slot, maybe motion them out or whatever it's going to be. I think Trent's going to handle that for the most part.
That's going to be intriguing to me. I'm really curious if McDuffie travels with him. If he does, that's going to be something that's going to be fun. Even if he goes to the slot, McDuffie can travel with him, but the defense has to be ready for it, and it's a lot different than people think when corners travel. But the big thing to me is when you start looking at and you start talking about the Texans running game, they have Pierce, who is a good running back. He's not Joe Mixon, but he's a good running back. But the other thing is that you're going to be dealing with bitter cold. I mean, it's supposed to be in the teens, probably, it's supposed to be in the 20s, feeling like it's in the teens at kickoff. That is going to make a difference in how this game is played, and it's going to make a difference, I think, in the running game too. And if Mixon has a hurt ankle, which is what is keeping him out, that could stiffen up in cold weather. So That's something that they're going to have to watch. I'm going to be curious to see if he's able to go. Their run game is extremely important, not just to really take some pressure off of CJ Stroud, but to give him the ability to use play action passes against Kansas City and to keep the defense honest.
Yeah. And that's not the only team. There's weapons on the other side, right?
Yep.
Obviously, the only person we didn't get back that we were talking about at the top of the show is Rashee Rice hasn't been able to return yet. Okay. Knew that was going to be the case given where and when he got hurt. McCall Hardman has been working to get back. What Andy said today is that Watson is closer than Hardman is, but it's still not out of the realm of possibility. McCall is listed as doubtful for this game, which tells me it could be there. It could be later. You'd like to have just every weapon that you possibly can, but I think, as we talked about earlier in the week, on the return duties, I think Remigio's doing a good job and should stay there, even if McCall was there. And I think you have enough firepower in the wide receiver room right now with Hop and Hollywood, X, Watson coming in, Juju available, and Remigio going to be on the roster. I think they have what they need to go into this game.
Yeah, and I think you feel pretty good about that. I will say if Hardman is going to play in this game, I don't think Remigio's up. So I think that's going to be an issue, and they're going to have to make a roster move. We're going to see where they go on that one. It's going to be. I'm curious to see how that plays out. But I would like to have McCall Hardman back, mainly just because he does give you another receiving option that I don't think Remigio does. I've actually liked what I've seen from Nico more in the return game than I have really from what I've seen from Hardman this season. I think Remigio has looked better in the return game, so I wouldn't mind giving him an extra game in the playoffs and see if he can continue, because that might be their answer at returner next year.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And kudos to him because he's been on a pretty long road, to be honest. It's good to see it pay off. And he is on the 53 now. So they have the ability to do what they want to do, whatever they feel is the best matchup for this particular week. And I think that this is a game that has been a little bit overblown in terms of what it needs to be. There are some matchups they have to win. Absolutely. That's coming up next. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that $50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at Prize Picks. There are lots and lots and lots of players that have to go in, do their job, get their matchup won in order to get a win. But let's be honest, there are some that need a bit more help when it comes down to it. No one needs more help than whoever's going to be manning the left tackle position, in my opinion. I think I know where I would go. Andy Reid won't say. So I guess the first thing we need to discuss is, what do you think's going to happen?
I think it's going to be DJ Humphries. I think that's what they want. I think that the reality is that they're going to dress enough people to where they can put DJ Humphries in a good spot. And maybe if they need to help him, they can give him an extra, Wande Morris can go out there and be an extra tackle outside the tackle if they absolutely need to. I don't think that's going to be needed, though. I think that they're going to continue to try to work in the quick passing game. And I think what we're going to see is the offense that Andy Reid, and you and I have talked about this multiple times. We're going to see the offense Andy Reid envisioned when they signed Hollywood Brown to begin with, and they brought in Xavier Worthy. I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the ball get out quick. You're going to see them hitting quick short throws, and they may take some deep shots, but they're going to give extra help to Humphries when they do that.
They're going to have to. This is the premier matchup, right? This honestly is. If it's not about Patrick himself, this is probably the one matchup in this ballgame that will turn the tide the most. Will Anderson ended up with like 6 pressures last week against a very good Chargers offensive line. Danielle Hunter was right behind him with 5. Mario Edwards had 4. Diego Autry had 4. It's not just their edges. They got Derek Barnett coming off the bench to produce some. Tim Settle had some. It's 3 interior guys plus 3 edges produce a good amount of pressure, plus their linebacker blitzing was pretty effective. So overall, it's not just that spot, but what that spot does to everything else. And that's why I agree with you. I think it should be DJ, because that way you upgrade the interior with Joe inside as well. And the extra help, you got to do whatever you got to do. I think we're going to see more aggressiveness from that defense in Houston. And I think the Chiefs have to be prepared for that. I know they've had a lot of time to do so. So how do you see that evolving? What's the next matchup they have to win?
Well, I do think that throwing Joe Tooney inside really quick helps them tremendously. I think that keeping interior pressure off Patrick Mahomes is going to be a big one. And you said something about Patrick Mahomes being, maybe the most important. And I agree that he is the most important, but I don't know that you can really look at this and say he's the guy that everybody has to try to beat. He is the face of the NFL. He's the face of the Chiefs. He is the face of the league. He is the guy that everybody has to beat. And he is so used to the system with Andy Reid. He is so used to the playoffs at this point. He's 15-3 in his playoff career. You have Lamar Jackson, who's 3-5. Maybe now 4-5, I think. 3-5, or I think he was 2-5. Now he's 3-5. And he'll be playing the Buffalo Bills. But you have Patrick Mahomes, 15-3. Almost as good as the regular season this year in the playoffs. He has been phenomenal. And you look at the other matchups, and honestly, the key matchup for me is going to be, the wide receivers versus Derek Stingley Jr. and Kwame Lassiter and whoever else that they end up in the corner room for the Texans. Because to me, when you look at this game, it's a matter of, can the Chiefs get the ball out quickly and get rid of and not have to worry about the pass rush. Because if they get the ball out in 2 seconds, they're not going to have to worry about the pass rush. Can they move the ball? Can they dink and dunk? Patrick has been so good. And this is one of the things I talked about in the crossover yesterday. If you go back to last playoff year, he only had 1 turnover, and it was in the Super Bowl. He's been fantastic in the playoffs lately. He goes to another level. He dials in even more in spaces where he shouldn't be able to throw it, or in tighter windows and in faster games. He gets even better. This ups his game, and coming off of the rest and being able to be fully healthy, he's going to be able to do things that only Patrick Mahomes can do. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well. The other thing that has to happen, in my opinion, is it's more Spags in the secondary than a singular player. But the last must-win matchup is the secondary versus Nico Collins. There are secondary receivers on this roster. There are secondary targets. Scholl's got them a few times last time they played. That's fine. But this is going to run through Nico. So whether it is your zone setup, understanding how to attack him, he had some catches in very tight windows last week with good man coverage from the Chargers. If the Chiefs are going to play it, I think they're going to have to man them up under, play a lot of their probably Spag's favorite coverage in 2 man, so that you have 2 high safeties that can then take away some of those deeper. He wants to in-cut at 12 to 17 yards. That little gap right there is going to be key. It's going to be McDuffie, but how they change off on it, whoever is the primary guy to take away Nico Collins on any given play has to win that matchup.
I somewhat disagree with you. I think Nico's extremely important, but to me, this also comes down to Dalton Schultz. And it's not because I think Dalton Schultz is a better player than Nico Collins. That's obviously not the case. But Kansas City has corners that can handle Nico Collins to an extent. They can't handle tight ends. They struggle with tight ends. And Dalton Schultz is good enough to take over in some regards. And I'm not expecting him to have a game where he goes off for 150 and 2 or 3 touchdowns. But if he gets, a touchdown in 80, 90 yards, that could be enough to swing this game, because Kansas City, it's more about, can they use Dalton Schultz enough to move the sticks at the right moments. It's not just about how many yards can he get. It's, can he move the sticks? Can he keep drives going? Because if he can do that, that's a problem for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In the end, moving the guy off of the spot to try to deliver the ball is going to be the most important aspect for the defense. The X factors there are numerous, and it depends how they're deployed, but we're going to run them down coming up next. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes are waiting and wondering and worrying. If you don't want to anymore, when you're going to get your money back, you can get into it. Then the waiting, wondering, worrying, you're going to have to do some more. Now taxes with matching with TurboTax Expert, you can do your taxes as soon as today, right now. An expert who gives you their taxes, their undivided attention, so that you can work on your return and in real time get updates on their progress so you can focus on your day as well. An expert who will find you every single deduction from every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. So all you can do is get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. This is taxes. Get an expert over at TurboTax.com. It's only available with TurboTax full live service, real-time updates only on an iOS mobile app. You can see the guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Guarantees, those are always tough, but I do have one guarantee for you, Chiefs Kingdom. You can get more information on this game and the whole league from him at KC Chiefs Corner and from me at NFL33.com and RGRfootball.com. And I will also guarantee you this, that a fresh and well-rested Chris Jones is going to be the catalyst for this pass rush. He's got to have it. We know that. We know that they are going to focus on him. So the question then becomes to me, who's the X factor that can play off of that? I have one in particular, but I'd like to know who you think is the next guy up in the pass rush this week.
I think it has to be Charles Omenihu. I think he needs to be a guy that is getting after the passer because he gives them something different that they don't really have with the other guys in their lineup. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is a speed rusher. I think both of us can agree we're not going to see Joshua Uche in this game, so they're not going to have that aspect on the field. So I think Omenihu has to be that guy, and it's not just about getting after the passer coming from the exterior. It's also potentially coming from the interior. Omenihu can break down inside. George Karlaftis can break down inside. Mike Dana can break down inside. You have the ability to move all these pieces around and together, and FAU can go in at different times, and you have Malik Herring as well. So it's going to be something where they have to be able to put players in the right position. And I'll be honest, I really want to see them do something different that they haven't done with Leo Chanel most of the season. Use him as a pass rusher. Don't make it known that you're going to use him as a pass rusher. Don't make it obvious that he's going to be a pass rusher, but put him in a position where he can be up close to the line of scrimmage and just have him go. Have him blitz. Use him and have him attack downhill. It's one of the things he does best.
I agree. Although I want to save him a little bit because I'm looking forward to that 4-point stance in the offensive backfield. And then they just fill that up. So
we haven't seen that since early on in the season.
But it was tested and it worked. So we will see it this postseason. I am fairly certain. But I like where you're going there. On the offensive side for me.
How about Pennell in the backfield? Sorry.
Well, yeah. Hey, I'll take that too. CSU Pueblo, you guys can celebrate that if we see that one happen. He might be the next guy that's eligible for the DL lineman catching a reception. So let's see what Big Mike has. But on the offensive side, I think the guy, and I've been chawing on it for a while. Everybody's talking about Xavier. Everybody's talking about Hop and Travis in his 22-year-old comments. I think the guy the whole league is sleeping on right now is Hollywood Brown. I think he could be the X factor because I think what they have shown of his utilization so far this season has been so abnormal from what they want to do that I think it's lulling some defenses into a false sense of security. I think he could go off.
I would love it. I'm not sure what to expect from Hollywood Brown. I know that he is still getting back into shape. He's still getting back into being ready to play in the NFL and play, 60 snaps because that is a different thing as a wide receiver, playing that many snaps in a game. So I know he's getting back into that, and he's probably going to be good to go. And I'm guessing he's going to be as close to 100% as he can possibly get with all the time off. I think he could be an X factor. Honestly, I think the biggest X factor to me when you start looking at the matchups and you start looking at the wide receivers is probably going to be Xavier Worthy. And I say Xavier Worthy because his role has shifted and they don't have a lot of tape on what his role is going to be going forward. They can go back and they can look all they want at the early part of the season and see what he was doing. That's not going to be what he's doing in this game.
Yeah.
And if they put the wrong person on him, all it takes is one misstep and he's gone. Same with Hollywood Brown. That's the thing that really is exciting about this offense to me, is that you have two guys that they don't have a ton of tape on. In specific instances, they have a ton of tape on Xavier Worthy, but they don't have a ton of tape in Hollywood Brown. They don't have a ton of tape in Xavier Worthy's shifted role with this offense. And all you got to do is get the wrong guy in the wrong zone or taking a step off the line of the scrimmage wrong, and both those guys are gone.
You're absolutely right. And if you want to go back and you look at the worst graded player in the Texans defense last week, it was Caden Bullock, the free safety. So that sets that matchup up. If you're going to take advantage of somebody, that would make a lot of sense. Where it goes from there, I think it's about game flow. It's about setup. It's about the scouting and the way that you put the game plan together. I won't be disillusioned to think that the Chiefs are just going to steamroll somebody. A lot of people out there seem to think so. I feel like they'll go down. I'd love for them to play from a lead the entire game, but I could see them falling behind. I'm pretty comfortable, especially if they fall behind by 10, right?
Right. It just seems to be the way that they play. So, yeah, it would not shock me if that happens. You know, when I start looking at this game, when I start looking at what the Texans are going to bring to it, they have to ratchet up their game even more than they ratcheted up against the Chargers. Kansas City knows what they're getting themselves into. Just about every single player that's going to be on this roster has got some sort of playoff experience for the most part. Anybody that's playing a significant role outside of maybe Xavier Worthy has time in the playoffs, so they know what's coming. They understand that speed. They understand all of that. So I think that that's going to be something that's going to play into the Chiefs' advantage. But this game really comes down to two things: Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And I love what Steve Spagnuolo does on the defense. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He's fantastic. He does great in the postseason. He makes great adjustments, and he gets the defense ready to go to play whoever they're playing. But Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to be on the same page in this game. They're going to know what they want to do. They're going to be able to go out and they're going to execute. And the playoff Mahomes that we've seen the past couple of years when he's been playing in the playoffs is at a whole different level than what he's played in the regular season. And you and I have talked about this as well. There's a whole probably 3 or 4 pages of plays that I'm sure that maybe we saw them. Maybe we saw 1 or 2 of those plays that are on those pages throughout the season just sprinkled in. But I guarantee you there's a whole bunch of plays that they haven't used that they have saved for the playoffs, and they have a whole bunch of plays that they have specifically designed to attack this Houston Texans team and attack specific matchups.
Yeah, and they have to. When it's all said and done, I think the Chiefs win this game. I think they move on to the the conference championship again and get to go home, rest up, and see what happens, Bills and Ravens. But I will say this. I think they could fall behind early. I think they'll have a couple of missteps. When you go back and you look what this game was a couple of weeks ago, and it really was very fresh. It will be less than a month between games against this same opponent, and they don't have Tank now. Now, could they get – I don't know if Woods can play. I think he's on the injury report, but not significant. Obviously, Mechie could play a bigger role this game. There are some differences. But I also take a look at, as long as you control the run and what comes at that from play action, et cetera, I think they're going to be in very good shape. I think the return of these players, particularly on the defensive side, allows you to play a tougher brand of ball, as you should in January. And I think it'll be a little bit different than last time, but I don't think the Houston Texans score as many points. I have the Chiefs winning this 27-17.
You know, if you go back and you look at the score and you go back and you watch the game, the Texans were 1 point away from tying the game when Tank Dell caught the touchdown. And that was a heck of a catch, and sucks about the injury. And who knows whether or not he would have made the extra point right afterwards, but 15-minute wait. I mean, so I think that played into it. But I also think that played into how the Texans played the rest of the game. This is going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of emotion on their sideline. They have a lot to play for. They have a lot to prove. and they're going up against the defending Super Bowl champions, back-to-back Super Bowl champions. I have to agree with you. I think Kansas City finds a way to get this done. I don't know that it's going to be pretty. And the reason I don't know that it's going to be pretty is because I do think that there's probably going to be a little bit of rust to an extent with Kansas City, especially on offense when you have some guys that haven't played for 3 weeks at this point in a game. So I do think that could play a factor early on in the game. But I think Kansas City they have the experience, they have the coaching, they have the best player in the NFL. And I think he's going to show up and he's going to play like the best player in the NFL in the playoffs. I have the Chiefs winning. I don't know that they're going to score 17 points either. I'll go 30-17. I think that it could be a 2-score game. Right now, I think as of yesterday, it was 8.5 points on FanDuel. I don't know if it moved, but that's what the spread was. And I think it could be even bigger. I think it could be double digits. This Chiefs offense is going to look completely different. The question is how quickly can the defense take shape early on in the game? Because if they stop the Texans on the first couple of drives, yes, everybody can adjust and that'll happen. But they generally don't do well early on in the drives. If they come out fired up and they shut the Texans down early, that says a lot of how this game could go.
Yeah, it certainly does. Now, don't worry, folks. We are going to be live post-game like we always are. It'll be a little bit delayed as we get Matt and Derek live from the stadium after the presser. So make sure that you tune in. Make sure you put your prediction in the comments here. If you're really antsy post-game, you want something to do in the meantime, I'll be live on RGR Football. You can find me there. We will have it all for you. I want to know what you guys think with your specific, score as well. What your predictions are, put them in the comments below. Thank you for being with us. This is the first step in what is 12 more quarters to a championship. I think these 4 go well. We're looking forward to it. Thanks for spending your time with us. Make sure you like and sub and hit the bell. Check out another Locked On show next. Thank you. And we will talk to you post-game.